Okay. Yes, I'm bang on time. Right. Okay, I think I've adjusted this okay for you guys. So we good. How's that for timing, eh? How's that for timing? Wonderful. Hello, Malcolm. You made it today. Great. I was so sorry that you missed it the last time. So hopefully my explanation of where everybody needs to go is good. Hello, Missy Parker Osei. I meant to call you earlier on. So we shall catch up most certainly very, very soon. It's great to have you guys on here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Zoe, for joining. Ashanti as well. Thank you, guys. And yes, it's nice to see you too. Hello, Amasewa. Excellent. Yes, because you also had trouble joining last week as well. Nana Marilyn, yes, here I am. So it's great to have you guys on here. I shall be asking how you're doing very shortly. I just realized that I haven't had any lunch. And in this moment, I felt a pang of hunger. But I shall soldier on, because this is show business and the show must go on. Hi, sis. How are you doing? Yari, Gal, Jana, lovely to have you on here. Thank you for jumping on here, Abna. Temitope, lovely to have you. Rita Sangari, thank you very much for joining. Hello, Julia Roberts. How are you doing? So actually, I have to apologize to you guys because last week I was supposed to announce the winner of that little competition. Abana, if you want to join the video, you can absolutely possibly do that a bit later on. So I will invite people to join. I'm supposed to be having a guest this evening. I got a message, but it was too late for me to go and, inquire as to what it was. Hello, Gina. How are you? Still the second person said I'm looking fresh. Is it so obvious when I don't shower and come and do a Facebook Live? It must be the new Dove soap that I use today. Faith, thank you very much for jumping on here. A very good evening to you all. Sam, and who else is on here? It's great to have you. Thank you very much for your time. I am always super appreciative of your time. There's a little something that I want to put on here that I don't forget at the end, which is, let me just stick it here. Yes, I was just saying, so how is everybody feeling? What have I done? Oh dear. I don't want to do anything funky. Right. How is everyone feeling? Has everybody had lunch? Because I haven't. I'm starving. Hello, Ukyoduku. Thank you, my darling. Aisha Ankara, the regulars are in the house. Malcolm says he doesn't have a clue how he got here, but you're here, so that's great. Let's see who else is on here. It's lovely to have you guys. It really, really is. And as I said, always happy to be talking to you. It is eye-opening for me, as it hopefully is for you as well. Hello, Yomi. How are you doing? Yomi, you've been very quiet this week. You haven't harassed me this week. You haven't, teased me or wound me up. So I want the old Yomi back. How are you, Doche? I cannot believe you haven't eaten lunch. Well, you would be able to believe I haven't eaten lunch because I didn't actually have a kitchen again until later on this afternoon. So I am starving. But guys, without much ado, let us get this party started. So guys, as usual, I'm going to ask, how are you doing? And let me just excuse myself. So if you see me not making eye contact, it's because I am just making some few adjustments either to my notes or I'm trying to arrange it in a way that I can see. Anita Agri's in the house. Hello, Anita. How you doing? Yes, Yomi, be laughing. I will catch you. I'm very good, Doche. Thank you very much. I'm very well, actually. I kind of feel like I'm alive again. Hi, Sophia. Lovely to see you. I feel good. I actually do feel very happy within myself. These are not great times for many people. There have been so many bereavements everywhere you look. Every day that I'm on Facebook, somebody has lost someone. So I would just like to offer my condolences to everybody who has lost somebody. And, especially during the month of January, it is particularly difficult because it's a new year. And, whenever there's a new year, there's always new expectations. It's like, oh, this year is going to be great. And then, you're bereaved so early on in the year. It takes a lot to be able to adjust your outlook and have, a hope and an expectation when you've lost a loved one. So for all of those people out there who have lost a loved one, what's wrong with my words today? I would like to encourage you and say, look at me. Yeah, it will get better. And you can live again, and you can have a good life. It's a different life, but it will be a great life nonetheless. Give yourself time. Do not force yourself to, put a line through your grieving journey. Grieve authentically, stay in your space, have people around you that support you and love you, and people that you can be yourself with. So none of this, I have to put on a mask and smile and be jolly, otherwise my friends are not going to come and see me because I always look sad or I'm always crying. Have people that don't mind you wetting their shoulder, once in a while, yeah? So I just thought I would just say that to you guys. So Anita says, happy to be on the show again, my darling. Looking lovely as always. Thank you very much. Zoe says, I am okay, missing people and human contact. Oh, I'm telling you. Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? I haven't seen you here for a while. Lovely to have you. And Ipia Sarkodia. I tell you, it's difficult not having that human contact. Zoe, what kind of human contact are you talking about? You talking human contact or human contact? Well, you know what? I'm missing both, but it's c'est la vie, yeah? Such is life, you got to just get on with it. Just listen, you know what? Drink water. Water is very healing, yeah? It can heal you of needing that contact. Right, so moving swiftly on before this show turns bluer than it's supposed to be. Guys, how are you feeling? You said you're feeling good, most of you. Dora, thank you for joining. Today is I think it's an interesting topic. It's a serious topic. I think, once again, it's a topic that needs to be had. I very much would like to hear your views. It's important that we talk about how Ade Yesifu reckons that this looks like white wine. No, it does not. It looks like water. What you should have said is it looks like gin, which is not, by the way, but look, see? Here, Buxton, here's a little plug for you. Right, so back to business. It's an important conversation. It is something that many of us have experienced. I don't really like to say many of you because it kind of seems a little bit distant. So I like to say many of us, even though I did grow up with my father. But actually, I will share something about a time when I was separated from my dad. And I'll tell you how that affected me. So this conversation is centered around that. Are there good, legitimate reasons as to why a mother will separate her children from the child's or children's biological father, not including, and listen carefully here because I think some people got a little bit sidetracked when this discussion was going on my personal wall, that is not including men who are either physically or emotionally abusive towards the former family. Okay, so I'm not talking about men who are separated because they were violent or sexually abusive. No. Clearly, that's just common sense that you would keep your children, or your child away from such a father. So I'm going to read to you what it's about for those that haven't seen the blurb. And I'm going to start doing that from now on so that we're all kind of on the same page. So this episode, 4th episode of Speak With Dilys, is called Say Bye to Daddy, for obvious reasons. And what it says here is, Say Bye to Daddy is the 4th episode of Speak With Dilys. Any relationship breakdown is painful if you don't want it to end, but more so where children are involved. As a mother, how easy is it for your ex-partner or ex-husband to see his children? Is it fair that he has access to the children when he fails to pay child support? Other than physical or emotional danger to the mother or child, is there any justifiable reason to stop a father from having contact with his children? What if his new partner is the cause of the breakup? Is that reasonable cause to limit or prevent contact to protect your children? How do you... So what if his new partner is the cause of the breakup? Is that reasonable cause to limit or prevent contact to prevent your children? How do the children cope with the lack of contact? Okay? If you're in this situation as a father, mother, or experience this as a child, let's hear your views. So that is the conversation that we're going to be having today. Abdul, aka Jamal, thank you for joining. And let's get this conversation going. So, I will explain a little bit of a background as to why this is likely to happen. Obviously, the last time I checked, I was a woman. I've had experience of being a woman for quite a long time and a lifetime of conversations with women and girls. So that is where I get predominantly my experience from, that I like to come and share with you guys. So the reason why a lot of women may prevent their children from seeing their fathers is because they're hurt. In a nutshell, it's because they are hurt, predominantly, and because they are angry. And that hurt and that anger sometimes manifests in being able to get back at that ex-husband or ex-partner through the children, especially when that father makes it known and makes it clear that he does love his kids. And contrary to this thing that society, kind of puts out there, that, women are the only ones that love their children and men can live without their kids, it's a fallacy. And we need to begin to break down some of these myths about how men relate to their children. I know some amazing fathers out there, amazing fathers, fathers that they are hands-on, they would die for their children. Okay. But I'm just giving you a bit of an overview as to why some women stop the fathers from seeing their kids. Okay. So that's one example, because they're hurt and they're angry and they know that that's a one surefire way to get back at that man. Then you also have the fact that some of these men do not pay child support. And where the mother is struggling and she's tired and she is having to do all the, the waking up at night and doing the school runs and the homeworks and the putting the food on the table and all of that stuff, in the absence of the man doing his bit to support his child, the women are like, well, you know what? If you ain't paying child support, you ain't seen your kid. Do we blame them? Yes or no? Then we have situations where some of these men that love their children so much, and I'm not saying that the others that don't do this don't, where they will stay in the relationship because they fear losing contact with their children. So I want to put that out there to say, let's explore some of these things and hear some of your experiences to see how it has been for you. So before we really kick off and get into it, I need my thumbs up, guys. If you're feeling good and you're ready to have this discussion, can I have some thumbs up? Show me some love. If it's bringing back certain memories or experiences, hey, show me a sad face, because this is about real conversations here. This is not, like I said to you last week, those of you that were on here, if I want to have a show just to talk about fluff and foolishness, trust me, I know how to do that. Believe you me, I know how to do that. The fact that I'm doing it here will tell you it's for serious people, because if I do this on my fan page, I will probably not have any less than 100 people, watching if I was doing this show there weekly and climbing. But I choose to bring it here because I want people that are committed to having these conversations and wanting to make a change in their communities, to have this conversation. So as I say, this show is put together because I want us as individuals to begin to make that impact in our communities without relying on governments or even churches, because the churches to a degree haven't taken their position, okay, so that we as individuals can start to make that impact. And if we are in a religious establishment that realizes how important its presence is, then great. But I want individuals to stop having this bystander effect and thinking, okay, let me see what the next person is doing before I move. Stand for something. Yeah, so this show is put together for that very reason, so that we talk about things that matter, people who count, and information that needs to be heard. So thank you very much for showing me that you guys are ready to have this conversation. Thank you, Adele Randolph. Thank you for joining. Mami Ajwa and Marie, it's great to have you. Okay, guys, so, and Jay Abika, lovely. Dolores Opoku, nice to have you guys on here at Tina Men's as well. I always love to welcome people because, quite frankly, y'all don't owe me nothing. You could be doing 101 things on a Sunday evening and not spending it with me. So it's a real privilege and I'm very grateful. So guys, giving a little bit of background as to why women do this. Do we agree with it? Do we agree that it's fair that if, as a man, if you're not paying child support, that you have access to your children? Is it fair that you have had a child with somebody, but you're not supporting your child? And what I've seen, and even in my personal experience, okay, and I don't share a lot about my personal experience in regards to certain things, because I have this philosophy that if it's not just my business, then I can't just share it willy-nilly, because I've got other people to consider aside from myself. I share what I believe is relevant to a conversation or that will, make an impact for the greater good. It is very difficult being a single parent and a man just providing financial support as and when he feels like it. It is very, very challenging. Hey, Roger, how are you doing? Roger was a producer on one of my songs. He did the mixing. He's based in the States. Roger, I have to give you a shout out. Can you put details of your studio in the comments box? Anybody that I know does stuff, when you come on here, you get props for it and you get recognition. Okay. And it is a difficult conversation. And I am not here to vilify or to condemn either the mothers or the fathers. And as we go on and have this conversation, you will know why. This is a safe space for people to speak their truth and for us to understand the psychology behind why people do the things that they do. Yeah, and it will be very important for the show that I'm going to do next week, Sunday, especially for us women, because that show really is for you, but we'll get onto that later. So is there any justification for the man to stop paying child support because his wife or his ex-partner will not allow him to see his kids? Because a lot of men feel quite incensed that why should I pay you child support if you will not allow me to see my child? Then you have the mother saying, I'm not going to let you see your kid because you're not paying enough child support, or you're paying the child support as and when you have it. But dads, let me tell you something, yeah? You don't eat as and when. You eat every day. And you have got to make it a point to provide for your children. Let me just go to some of the comments before we really... Okay, so Dochi says, I did suffer from abandonment as a child and a loss of identity. Dochi, it's like you're here reading my notes, because I was actually going... I will be speaking about identity and the importance of having that contact. But, I think what you've done is you just validated that point. I'm going to say what says it's always about maturity and putting your child first and nothing less. Might be difficult, but it is necessary. It's so important to understand that the child's emotional well-being comes first. I'm going to say what you knocked, you knocked it on the head. The problem I have with what you said, problem in quote, is that many of us don't understand what emotional well-being is. We have these phrases that we understand, those of us that have the knowledge, but it's like when people say love yourself, what does that mean? It sounds good, but it's not something that we understand sufficiently enough to do something about it. So what you said, you are spot on. It is about the child's emotional and, dare I add, mental well-being as well. Okay, Zoe says, I fell out with a friend over access to their children because of maintenance payments. In my opinion, children's well-being comes above money. I will let you know what I think about that in a moment. Nana Mary said the children should come first because they don't understand why daddy isn't there. Oh my God, you guys are killing me. Roger says, it's a tough conversation to have without people feeling hit, hurt or humiliated. Yeah. But talking about the problem, more so realizing the problem, is the first step to healing. God bless you. And that's exactly, even before I read your comment, that's exactly my sentiment. It is not about, because that's why I say, listen, I know how to get a show to get people coming on and doing whatever. One, I'd have it on my personal page, and I just have to talk about deadbeat dads, and dads are this and that. And there's enough women out there who are hurt enough who will jump on and support me in that rhetoric. But when the cameras are off and you log out of Facebook and you're left with your child, what exactly are you left with? Have I impacted your life in any way other than just compounding a problem and not giving you any solution for it? Okay, Zoe says, sadly, there are bad fathers who don't want to see their children and don't pay. There are bad mothers that use their children. There are always good and bad on both sides, but if we think first about the child, the decisions become easier. 100%. Anita says, unless there, Anita, let me read this. Unless there has been domestic violence also involving the children or sexual, psychological, emotional abuse or neglect, I don't think it's fair to stop a man from seeing his children. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. As he was no threat to the children, I enabled him to see our children, although not easy for me. I don't think those women who try to unfairly punish their ex-partners for frivolous reasons are right to do so. There are some, great men sincerely miss their children. Many children are emotionally and healthily attached to their fathers. They will not respect their mothers for keeping them away from dads unfairly. Even without regular child support, fathers should not necessarily be prevented from seeing their children, especially if they maintain regular telephone contact and show genuine concern about their child's welfare. There are some men who are actually more concerned about the woman than their children. Well, that is very true, especially that, all of it was very, accurate. But yeah, I'm going to touch on that as well. Okay, so you guys are commenting like crazy and I think it's brilliant. And I may just have a couple of you just come on here just to put your point across. And I really would like to hear from a father that is experiencing this or has experienced this. And let's see how we can have this conversation to see how best we can deal with this. Now, guys, I need to ask you something really important. As you can see, I don't have any sleeves and I've got goosebumps. I am freezing and I think my heating has gone off. So if you don't mind, can you excuse me for just 1 minute whilst I scream and tell my daughter, Bells, when it gets to put the heating on, I will be with you in 1 second. Otherwise, I am going to catch hypothermia. 1 sec. Right, I'm so sorry that you probably had to hear me screaming, but needs must. I've gone other days where I do any airs and graces for anyone. I'm cold. So, as I was saying, this conversation, now we're going to be, for those of you that just joined, and stop laughing, it's not funny. I was cold, right? I was freezing. Don't know why, because it's usually really warm in here. So, this is what I think would be helpful for us to stop laughing. You're gonna make me lose my train of thought now. This is why I think that it's important to have this conversation, because I don't want people, if I see any more laughing emojis, I'm gonna come for you. That it's important that we don't allow anybody to feel vilified. Let's take this, a little bit slowly. For you dads, you have to understand that you paying child support Ada, you're looking for my trouble. He said, you don't get that on the BBC. Listen, and look at what the BBC are missing, eh? Of course, you don't get that on the BBC, but look at what the BBC are missing. So BBC, if you're watching, yeah? Anyway, so as a father, you have a responsibility. And you have a responsibility that is not dependent on what your baby mother or ex-wife does. Your responsibility isn't supposed to change. Your responsibility should never be dependent on whether you see your children or not. It's hard and it's painful, and by no means am I saying that it's right. But what you don't do is lash out by withholding financial support from your child. And you have to understand something. You have a responsibility because you produced a child. What happens to that money after it has been given is not your business. It's not your business. You need to be able to stand in all good conscience knowing, as for me, I supported my child financially. Whether the mother decided to give the child the money or go and get her hair done and the nails did, it's not your business. It really has nothing to do with you. Because at the end of the day, if you are not the primary caregiver, the amount of work that goes into looking after a child 24/7 is not a joke. It is difficult. And I will emphasize, and I'll keep on emphasizing, that doesn't mean that you're being taken for a mug. What it means is that your child really comes first, and you're literally putting your money where your mouth is by ensuring that the welfare of your child is being well taken care of. It is important that a child knows that they were financially supported by their father. I would tell you, going to school in Ghana, you kind of get to know, because Africans just gossip so damn much anyway, you get to know everybody's business. And the kids in school, and I will tell you this now, the children in school, especially those in the boarding house, who were not looked after by their fathers, you could tell. You could tell those that weren't looked after by their fathers. It was obvious in their demeanor, in their lack of self-confidence, and the lack of money. You could tell that they were different from the other kids who had mummy and daddy coming to the school to pay visits. You understand? But that blow would have been lessened even if the father was absent, but there was financial support being given to the child. And as a child grows, nothing, I remember when my daughter was small, and I've shared this before, I would get Isabel ready and she would go to her dad to ask her dad whether she looked pretty. She wouldn't come to me. She would go to her father. And I'm going to talk a little bit, about that, because this conversation, though it involves the men, I'm very much going to be speaking to the mothers, because the children are predominantly, in this case, the children are with the mothers. So I think the understanding has to go, that conversation has to be a little bit more geared towards the mothers. However, I want you men to stay with me and learn something. Learn something, okay? Nana Yao says, if mothers use kids to manipulate, it could be frustrating. Not it could be, it is frustrating and it is painful. And, I'm not going to justify it. What I am going to hope happens here is that we understand the reasons behind why certain things happen. Hi, Tinula. Thank you very much for joining this evening. And Alison as well. And Kathy, lovely to have you on here. Elvira and Nana Yao, who just commented that it's lovely to have you on here. Let me just quickly read a comment here. So Yemisi says, I don't think estranged fathers should be prevented from seeing their kids if they haven't been damaging to the welfare of their kids. They may not have been regular with maintenance, etc., but kids need to have their fathers in their lives. As much as we don't want to admit it, as much as you want to deny it, it is necessary. It is really, really necessary that children have access to their fathers, okay? I mentioned about whether mothers feel that if the father's new partner is the reason, in quotes, and I'm not going to get into the technicalities of, can the man be stolen? That's for next week's show. Where they feel that the woman who is now on the scene is the reason why, that's the reason that they now use for not allowing the child to have access to the father. So I don't like the new partner. She's this. I'm not going to have my kids around that woman. I don't trust her. Let me tell you something. This is where maturity has to prevail, where you and your ex-partner have to work something out. You have to work something out. And admittedly, and I'm going to share something here, and it's one of those things that's very private, but I'm going to share this thing for the greater good. And it is private, and I'm kind of thinking, should I? But I'm going to share it because I don't think that I can have some of these conversations without sharing some of my experiences. 9 times out of 10, we women, okay, are the reasons why these men don't see their children. Let's be frank. We make it difficult because we make it so known that we don't like the former spouse. We have to learn to shut up. And we have to learn not to put our mouth in every situation unless we're bringing something positive. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm not saying this because I'm so perfect. I'm saying this because when you decide to date somebody with children, and it's kind of part of it because it ties in, because some of these men are being prevented from seeing their children because of the woman that they have now gone with. Whether it's a woman that they feel broke up their relationship, or it's a woman that just happens to be there, in my case, because they still want the man or still have got some designs on the man, it's still the same reasons as to why there is that lack of contact. In my case, I spoke to my late husband because he has 2 sons. And I knew that he too, he wasn't a whatless man. He paid child support. Everything was done above board, but was not allowed to see his son. And I said to him, would it help? Actually, no, I didn't say that to him initially. I had a call from a family member encouraging me to reach out to the child's family. So my son's family. And you know what? I did exactly that. And the conversation that I had was I actually rang the child's grandmother. And I said to her, I introduced myself. I am, your grandson's father's wife. And I would just like to introduce myself. I understand that there is an issue because they wouldn't engage with him. So I took the liberty of making that phone call predominantly and primarily because, as I've just shared, the women are normally the problem or are often the problem, okay? Because sometimes we women, we have these issues, but a lot of it we create amongst ourselves because we're not our sister's keeper. Let's keep it real here. So I made that phone call and I said, look, I am your grandson's father's wife. My name is blah, blah, blah. And I understand this is a problem, but out of respect for you, I am ringing you so that when you are able, if you want to have a conversation with, my husband, obviously my late husband, then you can speak with him. And just to assure you that I have absolutely no problem with him supporting his child emotionally and being there for him. I thought that I was speaking to a mature woman. The response I got back was that it was none of my business and that whatever it is between the father and the mother of this child. Let me tell you something. It's foolishness because no man is an island. And at the time, I had my daughter. And the response I gave back was, there is no ulterior motive. I'm not barren. I'm not childless. Lest somebody accuse me of wanting to have access to the child because I don't want to have a problem in my home. I didn't have those issues. I had a child. I was then told that they were actually hoping that the child's mother would get back with my late husband, which was interesting because he'd subsequently been in another relationship and, had another child. So it wasn't that he left her for me. I was way down the food chain. But I reached out to the family to give that assurance that your child would be safe with me. And I had to say to the woman, I said, you know what? With all due respect, it absolutely is my business because I'm this man's wife. Secondly, I have a child. Your grandchild and my daughter are siblings. And what you're giving me permission to do is to care less about your grandchild. I said, as a Christian woman, and from where I'm coming from, I could never behave like that because it's my husband's son. And if it's my husband's son, I am obliged morally, emotionally, spiritually to love that child. It didn't end well. But my point is, and I'm just trying to make the point of doing the right thing. What happens subsequent to that is not your business. You just do the right thing. So fathers, as I had to reach out on a limb and be insulted, and after that, I was accused of all sorts, but I didn't care. You do the right thing. Support your children, irrespective of whether the mothers are going to use that money to go and fix their nails. I've heard some men say, it's not your business, really. It really is not your business. You just do the right thing, knowing that your conscience is clear. Because let me tell you, and I said this to somebody once, I said the beauty about children is that they grow. They don't remain children forever. One day, when that child grows and they ask, well, Daddy, why did you never look after me? You can give them a whole whatever of receipts to say, I did look after you. I did want to see you. And make sure you gather your evidence, yeah? If you have to write letters and post them and take photocopies, do that. Make sure that you cover yourself. And I'm not saying this just so that you can vilify the mother. I'm saying this so that your child, who will definitely grow up with an identity issue, with abandonment issues, with daddy issues, okay, will be able to begin to heal with something more tangible than just your words of reassurance of, no, I did try to find him and I did. No. For those of us that watch paternity court and, some of these dads who are separated from the kids and the kids are now adults and they're angry and they're upset and they're saying, how come you didn't come and look for me? And it's like, I tried everything. And the kids are angry. And these are grown people. Grown people. And a lot of the times when we look at people and we judge them that you've got issues, you don't know that they've been struggling with stuff from within. Let me read some of your comments. Gosh, there's so much here. Kathy says, I was raised with two sisters who had different fathers. They received support and time with their dad. I never was allowed to know my dad. My mum took his name to her grave. 60 years of trauma ensued. That's not right. And I'm so sorry that has been your experience. And this is somebody, who's saying 60 years of trauma ensued. We have to understand the impact. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of science as we go along. And I want you guys to really go and do your research. Because as I said, this show it's not about popularity. Trust me. This is about learning. It's about gaining knowledge. It's about me gaining knowledge from the things that you share. It's also about me imparting knowledge from the things that I've studied and things that I've known, the things that I've observed and the things that I've experienced, so that we can learn and we can grow together. So that we can go away when we log out and think, you know what, that conversation, this is what I took from it, and this is what I'm going to start doing differently, so that I'm not raising, another generation of hurt people. It's very crucial. Marie says we must put God in this decision making with wisdom and loads of prayers. It's possible to restore broken hearts. Children need the input of their fathers in their lives. However, black men need to be mature enough to put all rage against the mums behind them and play their role fully. At the end of the day, they will have to answer to God. I'm going to just make a little bit of a distinction. This is not about black fathers. This is about fathers. This is about fathers. This is about fathers. Because some of the conversations I have, I can't break confidence. So I was going to say something. I thought, I can't say that because it was said to me in confidence. But this is about fathers. Black fathers do it, white fathers do it. And what I would like to say about that is the families need to get involved. These men come from families. What are you saying? What are you saying? We can't act like these children are an island. If my brother or my brothers, I've got two brothers, had children out there and were not looking after children, I'd look after them. I would look after the children. They would come to my home. They would be with my kids. And my brothers would get cussed on a regular, daily. I would run them to the ground. So those of us who are mothers and whose sons are doing this kind of nonsense, those of us who are sisters, those of us who are brothers, uncles, why are we standing by to allow this behavior? Why are we allowing mothers to do this? We have to break this cycle, because the ones who are suffering, ultimately, they're the children. Okay, so the other thing that I mentioned, let me just have a swig of water, was about men being forced to stay in relationships because they're afraid to lose their kids. That is quite common as well. And I think as women, we should never want to be with anyone that doesn't want us. And I know that it's easier said than done. But at some point, in order to live this life and to live it and enjoy it, we've got to start to make decisions where we can be happy, And it is about making decisions. It's about going back. It's about healing. I didn't have a magic wand and say, oh, I'm going to be healed today. I had to decide after the loss of my late husband. I got to a point where I thought, I do want to experience all those things that a woman should experience. Being in love, being happy, enjoying her life. I had to make that decision. I had to make the decision to start to heal properly. And yes, it may be, a continual journey and what have you, but by and large, I would say that I've got my life back. Some of you ladies, you haven't been bereaved. The guy just left you. The guy just left you. Yes, he left you for someone else. And yes, it hurts. And it's bitter. But don't let that be where you stop in life. Don't let that be your story. That you aren't able to open up yourself up and have healthy relationships with another person and allow your children to experience a mother who is emotionally sound. Let me tell you something. When kids witness their parents bickering, arguing, insulting each other, it's horrible. It's horrible. It is not something that any child should go through. You know, one thing I love about my parents, to this day, these guys have been married for over 60 years. Whenever they have a disagreement, it's had in the bedroom. It's had in the bedroom. I have never, in all my 49 years of being on this planet, have I ever seen my dad raise his voice to my mum or insult her. Never seen it. It's not what I'm used to. So having to have that kind of experience in my own home is very alien, very uncomfortable, because I was not brought up that way. But how many of us are creating the right environment for our children? A relationship breakup doesn't have to impact your children negatively. What impacts the children is not necessarily the breakup. It's how the breakup is dealt with, how you speak about the child's father. Yes, let's go there. How you speak about the child's father to the child. Fathers, and I'm not just putting it on the mothers, fathers, how you speak about their mother to the child. You are also guilty. You are also guilty. Been there, done that. You are also guilty of the derogatory words you use to describe a child's mother. Don't do that. Don't do that. Nana Yao and Tim says, thanks for the great job you're doing. Was introduced here by Tina Menz and I'm really enjoying it. I'm into faith and motivation too, and we have a good connection. Thank you so much. It's always lovely to have new people. I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much. Michelle Oquay, thank you for joining. Diana Ajay Jimfi says, call them. My view is this: there are many men who call themselves fathers who do not understand the meaning of parental responsibility. Parental responsibility comes in many forms. Some men find it easy to withhold their responsibility, and I have found that at times their responsibility is dependent on the relationship they have with the mother of their child. I can't argue with that, because I have to be honest, I went through that. I did go through that. I have experienced that, and I had to say, we don't come as a package. Your child is your child, and you take care of your child, and that's it, you know. Joanna, how are you doing? Lovely to have you on here. Ade says, additionally, some women might not permit dad seeing children as a bargaining chip for a future divorce. Yes, and that's why I'm saying that some men, for that reason, will remain in the relationship because they fear being separated from their children. Andrew Callum, how are you doing? Lovely to have you on. He says, hiya, I think it's always important, any family breakup, the children's welfare should be a priority. Set aside the financial commitment. Children need to feel loved and always feel they can have contact equally. It's very true. And I think you can't intertwine emotional welfare with financial support. You just can't do it because it doesn't work. And I think when we do that, you don't realize that the child actually feels like a commodity. They don't feel like a child. Because what are you going to say to your children as to why you're not allowing them to see their dad? Well, daddy hasn't paid child support, so you can't see dad this month. Oh, dad's paid child support, go and see dad. What are the subliminal messages you're giving to that child? You're teaching your child some very, very, very dangerous, giving them very dangerous messages about money. Very dangerous. And what you're teaching your child is, I'm not worth seeing the months that daddy doesn't come for me. I'm not worth the £100 or the £600 or the £200. I'm not worth it. When you put a price on your child, and I'm sorry, women, I am a woman. You want me to get up and, trust me, I'm all woman. You know, lots of women. Yeah? You can't do that. You can do it, but I can assure you, your children are not going to thank you for it. Your children are not going to thank you for it. You know, we have to begin to separate our emotions, our anger from the children's situation. Because, quite frankly, it's got nothing to do with the child. And ladies, let's take some responsibility here. We chose these men, yeah? We chose them. Some of us chose them more than once to father our children. And then we complain. So, I'm going to invite my brother, Nicky Cartel, on here. Let me see. So, I'm going to invite Nicky on here. to share his story. Now we've got about 15 minutes. I didn't make this a special. It's saying adding, so I really hope it's saying connecting. Oh, wonderful. Hi, Nick. Can you hear me?
Hey, darling, can you hear? Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. And there's lighting. Woohoo! So, guys, my brother Nicky, and I'm going to leave Nicky to share his story about this situation. Nick, over to you.
Oh wow. Okay. So I have a daughter, and I won't even say I split with her mother because it was never arranged or whatever. Her mother had taken my daughter to live in France, so I was making the trip to go and see her every time I could do. This was back in '97. Sorry, this started in '95. So coming to Christmas '97, I was going to spend Christmas with my daughter and her mum in France. I bought all the presents and everything, bought the ticket, and I phoned to say what time my plane was landing, and the phone line was dead. That was the last thing I heard for the next 9.5 years. Not a word. Within that time, I looked for, I used 2 private detectives to try and find her. There was no trace of her whatsoever. Now, I never use the word luck because I just say God is so good that I accidentally got introduced. No, once again, not accidentally. I got introduced to somebody who, on the off chance, we started talking. We're in a club, and I asked him, "What do you do?" And he said, "Oh, I find people and I find money that's hidden." Oh, what do you mean? He said, "I'm a private detective." I went, "Oh, I bet I've got a job." And he goes, I never fail." I went, "I bet I've got a job for you, which is impossible for you." And he went, "What?" I said, "I haven't seen my daughter for like 9.5 years. She just disappeared. I bet you couldn't find her." And he turned around to me and he goes, "You know what? I bet you I can. And not only do I bet you I can, I'm not even going to charge you just to show you what I can do." And I went, yeah, whatever. He told me, give me her name, her address, where she was born, her mum's maiden name, address, blah, blah, all of that information, as much information as you can. So I did. About 2 months later, I got a phone call.
Can you share this video? I think this is a really important story. Guys, just share this video and let's have this conversation, let more people, join in this conversation. Nick, sorry to interrupt. Carry on, please.
No way. Okay, so 2 months after this, I got a call from him, and he said, "I found 3 possible people that it could be, but I'm still waiting to get some more information. I'll be back in touch with you." About 4 or 5 weeks later, I get another call from him. He said, "I found her. This is the number. Do with it what you will." And that was it. And I remember looking at this number for about an hour. I just looked at this number and then I made the call. And all I heard was, "Hello?" I said, "Hello, Dominique," that which is my daughter's name. And there was a pause, and then oui. I said, "Hello, Dominique, this is your daddy." I said, "Papa?" I said, "Yeah." And then that was it, because she could only speak French. I could only speak English. And I just said, "I'll call you." What was that? There's a delay, Dilly. Sorry, what was that?
I said hearing that again is emotional for me.
Oh man, it was it was hard. But then, so what happened was things went really fast after that. Her mum, I called back. I spoke to her mum, and I said, "I really want to see my daughter." She said, "Yes, your daughter wants to see you." So I flew her. She had a son at that time who I'd never met, and my daughter over for Christmas. We spent Christmas together. She got to meet all her uncles and aunties again, her cousins and everything. And then after that, I took her to Ghana so that she could see her grandparents and see her culture. Now, God's so good. Even in that time, even though her mum never spoke about me, didn't tell her about her Ghanaian side or whatever, she just took to it naturally. As soon as she came to Ghana, it was like she was home. We never, it's only now, I actually never spoke badly about her mum or about the situation. All I said to her when we met, and I remember doing it through Google interpretation when we were speaking, because we were speaking on Facebook, and I just said, I never left you, and I never stopped loving you. You know, even thinking about it now makes makes me a bit upset.
It was very hard. And Nick, I'll just let you, you know, you got to understand that this is my brother and this is my niece we're talking about. So it is emotional. And I remember her coming to church. The one thing I'll say as a family, we never condemned the mum. None of us, you know, spoke badly of the mum, that how could she do that? We never went there. We were just happy to have our daughter back. And she looks so much like me. So funny. She's just a mixed race version of me. So she looks more like me than my own daughter. And I just want people to understand the impact of that separation. It's very hard. Dominique has got two cousins who are very close in age, i.e. my son Omar and my sister's son Matthew. I wasn't even aware of how much her disappearance affected them. They're like, well, one minute our cousin was there, especially being a girl, the next minute she was gone. You know, and I just want to encourage mums to think of your child, because they aren't our property. Your child is not your property. You are just a custodian of what God has blessed you with. And that is why it's important to make sure that you raise your and you raise them right, that you get yourself in order, you know, that you get yourself emotionally healed. Some of us have come from very broken backgrounds. I spoke about the fact that we were separated from our dad for some years, not because of anything. Remember, Nick, obviously, when mum was in Ghana and dad was in England, because he had to go to school.
Sure.
So it wasn't because of any break. Even that had an, you know, you got a teenage boy that needs his dad. I needed my dad, being very close to my dad. And you know, we saw him every Christmas, once a year. For 7 years. For me, it was 7 years, because I went, I think, a year before you did.
5.
Hard. You know, and that was where there wasn't any animosity, and going to, you know, those days we didn't have mobile phones, and going to, you know, do you remember P&T, where you could, you know, you'd have a 3-minute call, hello, and you'd wait for hours to get through. Oh my God, man has suffered. You know, don't do that to your children. If you can, dig deep and, you know, start to
can I just say something, Dilly? You know, I never condemned her mum, and even when we met, we never even discussed it. What you understand is that when we broke up, she was really hurt and wanted to forget about me, which I understand and I forgive her for. But what she didn't understand was what she was doing to our child. And what she remembers is that no matter what our feelings are, we cannot project that onto our kids. No matter how much you may hate your partner, apart from if they're a danger to your child, you should never, ever not let your child see their parent. There is no excuse for it. Nothing can justify that, no matter what. Nothing. And I'm like I say, God is so good, because luckily Dominique wasn't damaged from it. It was as if we'd never been apart. I mean, you've seen me and Dominique, so we've never been apart. Right. But not everyone is that lucky. Not everyone is that lucky. And I've seen what it has done. I've had ex-girlfriends who, because I haven't seen their dad, I've seen how it's affected them with their daddy issues and whatever. And it's something, you know, and it's the same with guys, you know, male or female, it is something that as parents, we have to understand. And I remember Dilys touched on it. Children are not our property. We are there as custodians to nurture them, to bring up responsible adults that are going to add to this world. That is it. They are not your property. They are not bargaining chips. And that's something that, you know, both men and women have to understand. And I just hope maybe my story will help somebody out there that's thinking of doing that. Don't do it. Don't do it. It will cause more damage than you will ever understand if you're not lucky.
Thank you, Nick. It's a shame that
pleasure, darling.
We could go out for a drink and, you know,
I'm going afterwards. Always a pleasure, my darling. Always a pleasure.
Love you, Nick. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, guys, you have heard from my brother. And, you know, sometimes, like I say, it's important to have these conversations. And sometimes we have to share a little bit about ourselves to put this, you know, into context, and to show that you can do it. Some people would be like, what? You took the child for years and, you know, cuss her out. And not one person in my family, not my parents, not us as siblings, we were just happy to have her back. Till this day, and you know what was even more beautiful? The way my brother embraced my niece's brother. Yeah? And we loved him as well. You know, we loved him as well. You know, we still ask after him. He's still in contact with us. We loved him because he's a part of my niece. You know, so I think it's important to show that these things can be done. And everything is not about you, the adult. You, the adult, you've lived your life. You've made your mistakes. You screwed up. Hopefully we'll screw up, you know. But don't project your issues onto that child or those children. Children, it takes so little for a child to feel worthless. It takes so little for a child to feel like they're not worth anything. So when you prevent them from seeing that one person, it really does set them up for emotional failure moving forward. Don't punish the child for the choices you made. You chose that man. You chose to lay down with him, sometimes not once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You chose that man. Why are you punishing your children for a choice that you made that had nothing to do with them? So after you've made that mistake, why should they be the only ones that pay for it? Don't do it. Don't do it. You know, it's important that we are honest with ourselves as women, because many of us didn't grow up with our fathers, and we cannot honestly lay hand on heart and say that we're not damaged from the experience. So when you know what you have been through and the kind of issues that you have with abandonment, sometimes even with commitment, with trust, with self-esteem, with self-identity, why would you then repeat the cycle? Now, it's funny, I wasn't going to do this, you know. You see this book, Predator of Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares. This is the first book I wrote. And I talk about these issues. And I actually explore the journey of the girl child into adulthood and how we end up in relationships that are dangerous and that are damaging. And I wrote this book because I want us to begin to break that cycle. I'm going to give this book away as well. The first person that inboxes me that is a single parent. I'm not giving this to married women. I want a single mother who is struggling. And I'm going to give you this book for free. I will sign it. You message me. This is private. And I will send this book to you because I want you guys to start healing, start the healing process. Because when we come into these relationships broken, and then we have relationship in that broken relationship, and then we begin to raise broken children. And so the cycle continues. There is a legacy of brokenness that we keep on leaving. Something has got to change. Something has got to change. And we absolutely have the power and the ability to be able to do that. We have the power and the ability to do that. We've got to break this cycle of brokenness. Why will you take your child through the experience of bereavement when their father is still alive? I repeat, why would you take your child through an experience of bereavement when their father is still alive? My child's father is not alive. Our children's father is not alive. I cannot give her the one thing that she wants. She has to live with no more contact. That's her story. That's her story. Why are you allowing your children to go through what my daughter is going through when your child does not have to? Do not deceive yourself that your child is not going through the same emotions as if they were going through a bereavement. Trust me. And this is where I said we'll get a little bit scientific, and my time is up now. But I want you guys to go and research ACEs, ACES, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Adverse childhood experiences. And those adverse experiences could be anything from witnessing domestic violence to child abuse to bullying or separation from a loving parent or a parent that they love. There is no distinction. that list is not exhaustive. Within that is a child being separated and the childhood trauma that they experience. Okay, I'm going to make the exception of going over my time, because normally I would cut it bang on time. Okay, a child being separated from a parent or not being allowed to have contact causes trauma. If you do any research on the ACEs study, what happens is, depending on the type of trauma that's experienced by a child, it gives a particular score. When that score indicates the kind of health issues they will have in adulthood. Anything from cancer to heart disease. This is a very serious topic. Anything from cancer to heart disease is directly linked to the type of trauma a child experiences. It's called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. I flew to Scotland to go to a conference to listen to a lady by the name of Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, who did an amazing study on ACEs. And it's something that I want to be doing a lot more work around when it comes to even dealing with some of my clients in adulthood, so that we can start to look at the childhood trauma that impacts us. Some of the health issues that you guys are experiencing is because of what you went through as a child. It has been scientifically proven. This is not something that I looked up on Google. Scientifically proven. I've written a paper on it. So when you are separating your child because you don't like the parent, because you don't like the new partner, or the ex-husband is not paying child support, think of your child. If your hatred for your ex-partner or your desire to punish your ex-partner supersedes the love for your child, you don't love your child. I'm sorry, but you don't love your child. You don't love your child. What you love is to be able to keep on sticking that knife in. If you are the one that has been left with the privilege and the honor and the very hard task of being the only caregiver, ladies, I have been there. I have had to do it. I have done it. It's not fun. And even then, the time contact was stopped was when there was a risk to self and child. Children, the beauty of them is that they grow. Don't think that you can do anything and you'll get away with it. So how do we heal? We have to heal by being honest and looking at our own experiences. Did we have a father? What relationship did we have? Did we not? Honestly, how has that impacted us? Be honest about it. Be honest about it. Don't put your child through that. A lot of us, girls, women, because we didn't have that father there. And actually, let me rephrase, I call it in this book, I call it the present absent father. There's no such thing as the absent father. In a child's mind, they create that father to be a villain or to be a hero. And depending on the title that they have placed on that father will determine how a girl child especially will manifest herself and show up in those relationships moving forward. You need to get this book. It is not an easy book to read. It's not a storybook. It is a book that is very, very tough to read if you want to do the emotional work. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is to make a difference. For every one of you who is a single parent or a woman that is struggling and you buy this book, I will give you 45 minutes. No, I'm going to up that. I'm going to give you an hour of free coaching. I don't do the hours free coaching anymore. It's 45 minutes, but I will give you an hour of free coaching from this. You can get this book on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and other outlets. You will have to look introspectively and retrospectively to be able to change that narrative around your relationships and the way things have worked for you. Guys, I hope you're sharing this video. This is how we begin to build our community. This is how we begin to heal families. This is how people become, restored. This is how we do it, by having these conversations and be given the information and the tools as to how we can be better. Like I said, I know how to do a good show. I could have gotten on here and how men are rubbish and and it's nonsense. It's foolishness. Social media is full of that nonsense. Not making an impact just for views. Let's be the responsible parties and do something to change our community and ensure that our kids are okay. that we are healing. And you know, for those mothers that you have been hurt by that man that has let you down so badly, you are special. You aren't your experience. It is okay to heal. Don't look at your child and despise your child because they look like their father. Don't do that. Look at the beauty of you in that child. The fact that that child came from your womb. Don't just look at that child and think they look like the dad and begin to resent them. And I've seen that too. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because they're not seeing the dad and you are also not showing them love. So where do they go for it? This is why our kids are involved in gangs and our girls are getting pregnant at a young age, because they're looking for that love that we are failing to give them. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. Sometimes you do all you can and your kids still mess up. But like I said to the dads, pay your money, pay your child support. What happens there on after is not your business. Your conscience is clear. Your conscience is clear because you know that you're doing the right thing. You know, let's allow ourselves to heal and to make, you know, better choices than we have done. Let's allow ourselves to heal. We have the right to heal. You've only got one life, you know. Now, I need to announce the winner of the little competition that we did the last time. The person that won this book that I said I would sign and send to them is Susan Ofori. So Susan, I don't know if you're watching, but this book is yours. So if you can inbox me your address, I will send it to you. Like I said, this book is really important and you need to get it. And I would like men to read this book as well, because contrary to, and again, it's about the narratives around society. Because we can get pregnant without having to have a man and what have you, you know, we try to lie to ourselves as women that if men are not in the picture, it doesn't matter. It matters. It matters. I told you this show, we don't do political correctness. We do truth. It matters. Children need their fathers. Children need their fathers. And yes, I know it's also difficult when you have fathers that today they won't show up. What I said was, let the children see their fathers if there's no risk of emotional or physical abuse. That caveat is there. That disclaimer is there. But even still, within that context, you still have a responsibility to be kind. Like they say, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. Be kind. Do not vilify. Do not condemn. Do not badmouth. Don't do it. Because your child's identity is wrapped in their father. They came from their father's loins. So as you condemn the father, you condemn them. You cannot separate. Every single person who is at loggerheads with a parent is never happy. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you try and style it. Every person, without exception, who is at loggerheads because of offense with a mother or a father, inside they lack joy. They lack that joy. Until they are able to heal and maybe let things go, they still have to go through a process of letting go. Remember, I will always talk about this, my analogy of water and emotions being like a water and like a river and having to flow. It remaining becomes a swamp. Swamps breed disease. Guys, I have to go. I really do have to go. So I will very, very quickly, I hope you found today's show helpful. I hope we've learned something. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to read as many comments as I would have loved to have done. And the reason for that is because there's so much information here. So, okay, let me go real quick. I'll read a couple. Diane Augustin says, it is so complex and so damaging to the kids. The focus should be the children, despite the feelings, how they say it's not about you. Exactly. Anita says, wisdom, bless you so much. And Alison says, indeed, girl, you did the best as a mother with feelings for the kids, reaching out to the elderly lady, whom sometimes we expect them to understand and open the way, yet they are the most difficult. And so, oh God, yeah, it was a very disappointing conversation, especially then being lied on and saying that I called to actually insult her, which was a story that went around. But it was fine. Again, my conscience was clear. So if that's what she wanted to do, then that was up to her. Nanayal says, if there's evidence that the money is not going to the kids, then perhaps you may have to invest the money for them in the future. No, I disagree. Give the money to the mother. Give the money to the mother. It sounds good. Don't do it. Give the money to the mother and show that evidence, the evidence of giving that money. Men, don't fall in that trap. Give the money to the mother. and have evidence of it. Whether the money is not used for the child, what do we mean money not used for the child? Is the child sleeping on the street? Is rent not being paid? Is the child not eating? Is food not being cooked? Is fuel not being put in the car? Give the money to the mother. Give the money to the mother. Men, you will thank me for it later. Don't hold on to that cash. Okay. Jay says, the worst one at the moment is Dwight York. Dwight, anyway, let me keep quiet. So I was going to say something. I'm not saying nothing. Moving very swiftly on. Because if I say something, it will not be good. Samantha says, my husband's ex and her mother did that with his son. He didn't see his son for over 16 years. His son finally managed to get his dad's number, and now they are closer than ever. He's close to his siblings and to me as well. As he was told I was a bitch, it's always the case, and would hate him. It's wrong because you make the child believe they are not loved. I was the wicked witch of the East. It happens, we women get a raw deal, but it is what it is. I have really gone over this show by 10, 11 minutes. It's unheard of. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go now. Thank you very, very, very much. It's a very important conversation. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know how many of you have shared this, but I would really hope that you do share this. It's really important. And next week's show is called Jolene, Don't Steal My Man. So those of you that are old enough, or those of you that like Dolly Parton, do you remember this song? Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Right, so basically, Jolene was a woman that was after another woman's man. And this show is going to explore whether it is true that a woman has the power to steal a man that doesn't want to be stolen. Or a man, if he's really meant for you, can he be stolen? It's going to be very interesting because I am going to smash some of these myths. And I know a lot of women are like, if a man is for you, he can't be stolen if he really loves you and all of that. I keep it real on this show, okay? All right? I've never lost my man to no woman before, okay? There's a reason for that. I will share some really interesting nuggets next week. So it's Jolene, Don't Steal My Man. That's going to be on next week's show. So please make sure you tune in at 8 o'clock on the Speak With Dilys show, and we gonna have this conversation. So please, I'm about to log off now. And thank you very much for watching. Guys, in all you're getting, get understanding. All things are permissible. Not all things are wise. Not all things are expedient. Love you. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are a great audience. I shall see you same time next week at 8 o'clock. And I'm not going to go over. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.